it's sad that we're going into the age of just put it, the power of knowledge, and that the vision probably of Google or your vision also is that eventually all world has access to all knowledge, and everyone has access to everything. But is that optimism, is it justified? Because as you said too, Africa is a whole continent that's pretty much cut off from the internet.
One of the things that I was showing was how, at Google, within our tools, we can see the network is live and well in almost all parts of the world, but certainly in sub-Saharan Africa and in a lot of Central Asia, people don't have access. The thing that's interesting is that a lot of those places have had telecom deregulation, so they have really actually quite good mobile penetration, and so there's mobile access, and you see people with multiple mobile phones, and typically if an area's been deregulated, you might have 40, 50, 60% mobile phone penetration, even in small villages, which is great. Actually, it's interesting in Afghanistan, not only that, but interest in media. So we were talking in Kabul with one of the lead media folks, and he said there's about 60 to 65% access to media and television, and only about 30% access to electricity. So people are going and buying generators and solar panels, whatever they can do to get access to information and to interact, and I think the network will be like that. What's exciting is that even in the last 2 years, major undersea cables have come around the continent of Africa on the east side and are connecting into the countries, and then across the countries you see wiring happening.
What's so extremely expensive though? Internet in Africa is
way more expensive than here. Way more expensive. Why would the poorer people have
afford that? Is there any way that has Google any ways to
what's interesting is that it's such a great economic opportunity. It's beginning to solve itself. People are getting the cables in, and then people are starting to make money. So lots of smaller amounts of money can add up just like larger money. So the emerging markets are a huge opportunity. You see, whether it's energy companies or telecoms companies coming into those markets. And so as that infrastructure is there, the talented entrepreneurs from those countries are starting to build applications. And we as Google have opened offices in Kenya, in Uganda, in Ghana, Nigeria, Senegal, Egypt, South Africa. We're working heavily in about more than a dozen countries to do search and YouTube and mapping and all the things that we do. There's small, medium businesses, large businesses all around the world. So we're doing our regular Google work, and then we're also exploring innovations and inventions we should make that might be more, say, text-based or other ideas like that. And then there's incredible entrepreneurs and startup incubators. There's a new startup incubator in Nairobi called NILab, which is in the same building as iHub, which was started by the Ushahidi team, which is a great social innovation group. There's an incubator that we're part of called Bono. There's a new incubator in Herat, Afghanistan, and the founding team was 20 talented computer science graduates from Herat came together, men and women, to found 4 new companies there. So,
as you said, the talent is there, but the opportunity
hasn't been there, and it's coming.
People start off. How can we drag investors into Africa? How can we, that was said in the panel, that people only invested in Twitter because they knew the people. So in order to be able to invest in something, you have to know what the philosophy behind it, what the people behind it. So how can investors come to Africa to build the infrastructure if there is nothing there? There is no.
Right. We're starting to notice it's happening a lot. We're starting to see not only angel investors who are from Africa starting to invest in their own countries, in their own talent, where they might have been investing in other places because the talent that was there couldn't actually build the things they wanted to do, network access or payments access. And then also other people are coming to invest in these places. The opportunity is huge. 900 million people in Africa, 30 million people in Afghanistan. And as the sort of, I call the plumbing layer comes in, then all kinds of applications are possible. So you see many, many different technology companies coming into these areas. And then talented entrepreneurs. One of the things that actually was very interesting in talking to the Google team, the Google Africa team, many of them saw their friends come home during the financial crisis. So let's say that you had been a very talented person who had left for school in the UK or in France or the US or somewhere. The financial crisis meant there were limited jobs for recent graduates or professional degrees, lawyers and doctors, lawyers and MBA students. Many of them came in and are starting businesses. So I think we're going to see a much more level playing field it doesn't happen instantly, but it doesn't happen next year, but over the next 5-10 years, I think we'll see a very different picture from these places. I also think it helps with peace, because as people have economic opportunity, they don't have to go towards negative directions. And that's pretty extraordinary.
You showed in the presentation a slide from a picture from the project One Laptop Per Child, or exactly, laptops. That project has been critically looked at from some side. Isn't it problematic? Well, at least I see the problem with it, that you have a couple of children benefit from this, or even if it's a couple of hundred, but it's only a very limited number of people that can actually have those laptops, because they distribute a couple of thousand, millions. Would it be more useful to put that money into generating basic infrastructure first, before giving technical devices to first educate teachers better, or build school classes, books, whatever? That's
I think you need a little bit of both, because to invent things you need to innovate and test. So sometimes I think about the $100 laptop, the one laptop per child, as like the Model T. It's just a little experiment at the beginning, maybe even before Model T, but the Model whatever, it's Model A, even earlier, to test and see how it would work. And actually there's a lot of those laptops were deployed. It didn't mean it was the answer, but it means that the idea of each child having their own device is what the big vision is. And so it's maybe the baby step on that direction. But you saw those kids do extraordinary things. There's a great story about a little girl in South America who lived, her village in Spanish means the edge of the corn, meaning she's so far up the mountain there aren't people after that, so she's way out there. Within a week of getting her laptop, she had uploaded a video of a cow having a baby onto YouTube. And so people were like, how did this kid figure out about the internet and YouTube and uploading, and that there's a camera on this? But the kids just, technology is what is invented after you're born. Yeah. And so, she's just like, oh, this is just normal. And it turned out that she had the same name as a famous singer from her village. And so they found out that she had searched in the box, written her own name, and up came the name of the singer on YouTube. And the video, she watched that, and then eventually, very quickly, like basic ABC, use the technology. So I think that you need to work all avenues. You need to work the plumbing layer. You need to be working on helping teachers, the extraordinary teachers in the world, get the capacity to use these tools, the curriculum. But you also need to be right in with the kids, seeing what is working and what's not working.
I think in Germany it's not like this. Institutions are still very closed. We really need more transparency in science. More institutions put out what's up there, what they have, to share it.
I think it's a huge opportunity for the institutions, because over time, some people will come to university, but some people will learn, wherever they are, and so it's almost like a brand race, which universities are going to get to educate the world. And so the more you can put this stuff out there, it doesn't hurt you, it only helps others. And there's an interesting example of that. We did a project at Google called the Art Project. And we went to a bunch of museums, incredible museums, and we were able to do the street view work, but down the aisles, and capture these incredible art pieces of works of art. And some people thought, gosh, isn't this going to make the museums lose money? Nobody's going to come. But in fact, it completely increases, because it's almost like marketing. People are like, oh my God, I can see this now, and it's so exciting. And then they're like, I got to go visit it for real. Yeah, and so it's actually upped the visiting of all the museums significantly. So I think some of that is insane.
You learn at universities, more people access. Do you think there's a democratizing process, or is that not the same just because it's more accessible?
I think it's definitely that way, and I also think that I think we don't even know what's going to happen. But as people learn collaboratively, people learn so much collaborative. I think not only the content and saying, watching a video or a lecture or reading something, but interacting with other people. There was a young man today from high school who talked about they were learning biology, and it was complicated. And so instead of each student revising their coursework at the end, they actually created a shared document, and they just put in the things that they had learned. And what was great about reading, it became 20 pages long, and revising and reading that was easier for them, because instead of the large bit of information, they together had crowdsourced what was the most interesting. So I think people will be learning amazing things and teaching each other amazing things. People of all different ages will learn things you didn't expect them to know. Younger children will be learning genomics in kindergarten. Just whatever you wanted to learn about and have passion for, you'll have the ability to do that.
But is accessibility, merely accessibility, the same as empowerment? Because if I have access to a lot of information, which is ultimate goal doesn't mean that I can process all the information or I can put it in. So I need someone or something to teach me to be critical with information.
I think there's multiple ways. One of the things that's exciting to me is to move the teacher from having to spend all of their time kind of lecture format and move them into a place. There's an incredible educator right now named Salman Khan who has the khanacademy.org, and he just records lectures. And in one of the schools in California, they're actually having the children watch the lecture for homework and work the homework problem at school. So now the teachers are in these interactive group settings with the kids doing the homework and math problems together, and then the kids can watch the lecture. If they didn't understand, they can rewind, they can listen again, they can ask questions. So it's sort of inverted classroom in a way. And so I think that we will see teachers are amazing, right? We all can think about these amazing teachers that inspired us and taught us. And it wasn't so much the lecture they made, it's who they were and how they coached us. And so the classroom can be different using these technologies. And also students can learn from each other, whether they're in the same physical space or whether they're halfway around the world teaching each other.
As an engineer, you probably know what it's like to be one of the few females in a very male domain. And in Germany, we have a big debate right now about the female quota. We should have a quota for Are you in favor or against?
I think it's incredibly interesting. I'm not 100% sure, but it seems to work. So there's a lot of debate in the U.S. about quotas and numbers and stuff similarly to here, and it's gone away from the quota side. You know, I think sometimes history has been so leaning, hard. Like one of the things I was thinking about today, here in this beautiful museum, but almost all of the pieces of art are celebrating men, or it's a picture of a man made of a woman, but she's like lying there, whatever. My friend Gina Davis, who's an actress, was doing some research on television for young children, and she noticed that, and this is related, she noticed that there weren't as many girl characters on screen as boy characters, just for like a 5-year-old to watch. Why is that? Or they did a study where they measured the jobs held by characters on television for preschoolers, and they found that of all the jobs held for this, they looked at the 10-year period, that 80% of the roles of the animated or acted characters were held by male characters, 20% by female characters, and of the 20%, there were no characters in television in that entire time where the women hold a business job, a law job, or a science job. So I think that the things, sometimes there's things that are symptoms and things that are fundamentals. That's a root cause of why they're not, if in the cartoon, the person who's in the, sort of the mayor, cartoon mayor who shows up at the show is always a man, then the kids, we won't have women mayors. So I think the key is to look across and see what are the ways we're going to do this. At MIT, what they did, my class was 21% women, and I was just at the 150th anniversary birthday of MIT, and so I met some women who were in their 60th year reunion, who were one of like 8 women in the whole school, and they went for it. Amazing people. They did a lot of work to reach out to help math and science teachers ask their top 3 or 4 kids, the girls and the boys, suggest to go to a technical career. Just suggest to the boys, or get more of them to come. So I think part of it is we all have to work together to push for more women into these spaces, and also notice the influences that we're putting around each other. So I'm a fan of the experiment of quotas, and see if that helps.